All right, this is John Cola with okraw.com. Today we have another exciting episode for you. In this episode, we're going to do a Q&A. So I'm going to take your questions and answers. I like to do these maybe once a month and answer your guys' questions that you guys submit for me. And if you guys want to submit a question for next month's episode, click the link down below to go to my community tab on my YouTube channel, or you could get there at okraw.com and click community, and then there'll be a space there where you can answer questions for the upcoming Q&A that will be coming up next month. I apologize in advance. You know, I have a lot of followers through different social media outlets, and I get a lot of different requests, whether it's under a video or through different messaging systems for me to answer people's questions. And I apologize. I have a policy that I just do not answer questions because there's one of me, and I have a lot of things to do in my life: run my business, plant my garden, process my food, make food, and do all kinds of stuff. So I don't have time to answer everybody's question as much as I would like to. My time is limited, and time is the most valuable thing that you guys have. So I want you guys to dedicate it to things that are, you know, the most important to you in life. And as much as I like to take time out of my schedule to make videos, to educate you guys, you know, I have to put a limit on that. But that being said, I do want to be available for you guys. If you guys do have a question for me and want to talk to me personally, I do have a way you could do that. For just $5 plus service fee, you could talk to me for 10 minutes, and I'll be glad to give you a call anywhere in the U.S. and talk to you and answer any questions that you might have for me to the best of my ability. And I don't know the answers to everything, but I do know a lot of stuff. So that there is a way to do that. Click down below for a link to my garden coaching, but I will actually talk about any topics that you would like. All right, so anyways, oh, and then I want to say that all the money that comes in from Fiverr, I do not keep. You know, I want you guys, and I strive to live in a abundance mentality, and, you know, have the mentality that, you know what, I don't really need money. Because if you live in this mentality, that's gonna really, you know, you're gonna live your life a lot differently than if you think, oh, I need money, and then you're just going after money with your life, you know, and then a big part of your life gets lost, right? So anyways, the money that comes in from Fiverr, I don't pull out. It goes back into the Fiverr community to help get my videos transcribed so that people that are hearing impaired or live in foreign countries can have access to the content that I provide. So thank you for those of you guys that have done the Fiverr, you know, and talked to me previously. Anyways, on with today's questions without further ado. First question is from Ryan Brantley. I'm very into backpacking, and also I care a lot about my health. I find it difficult to eat healthy on the trail, especially on a multi-day trip. How do you go about eating healthy on the trail, given the obvious limitations such as the inability to use juicers or blenders, etc.? As far as what I currently do, I use my dehydrator and not much else. All right, Ryan, so I don't know exactly where you're backpacking or hiking or camping or whatever, but what I would recommend is, and I'm not necessarily the expert on this, is I would recommend learning about the wild foods in the areas that you are hiking, camping, backpacking, etc., right? There's many wild people, wild forager experts. You know, I have interviewed some of them before on some of my channels, and I would increase the amount of wild foods you're eating. You know, do not eat any food unless you 110% know that it's, you know, edible for us and non-toxic. It can be actually deadly, literally, to eat foods in the wild. So I would use that to supplement my diet. I wouldn't try to like only eat the things I could harvest and greens, because mostly, unless it's like fruit season and you're in the middle of somewhere where there's actually a lot of fruit trees, which is probably gonna be rare, you know, you're just mostly gonna get greens and leaves and things that are good nutrition, but they're not really providing a bulk of calorie-rich foods. Of course, you're also probably going to pack in your water if you don't have some kind of water purification, because staying hydrated, of course, when doing any activity or even just in regular life is super important. So what I would recommend is, you know, if you go to REI, they have a super huge freeze-dried food section. You know, many of these foods are highly processed, like they freeze-dry ice cream bars, and many may be animal products, which in my opinion, eaten in too high quantities, which is what most people do, is not the healthiest. But they also have some plant-based options. But even better yet, if you guys are super into backpacking and traveling and you care about your health, and, you know, I would invest in a freeze dryer, right? I'll put a link down below to the freeze dryer I recommend. harvestright.com/greens.html, and that's a freeze dryer I own. I will say that I have had some challenges with it in the past, although the company has taken care of me, and now I'm backing up and running better than ever. You might be a little bit cautious purchasing one, but I think it is definitely a good investment. I mean, it does something that no other appliance can do. It's better than dehydration. It preserves more nutrients, and it literally enables you to travel and eat as if you're at home without packing in all the water. So for example, just the other day, I basically made a salad at night. I ate it. I was full. I had leftovers. I could put the leftovers in the fridge and vacuum seal it and save it for the next day. But instead, I'm like, what the heck? I'm going to put it in the freeze dryer. And then my freeze dried salad that was like greens out of my garden literally got freeze dried. I basically put it in a zipper seal Mylar pack. And now I'm traveling with it. So next time I'm in the traveling wherever I am in the world, if I want greens for my garden with the most like 98% nutrition still retaining in that food, and it tastes amazing, on my freeze-dried stuff. So basically, if I was you, and based on what I have in my garden, I would be harvesting stuff, making salads every night to eat half the salad, and then put the other half a salad in the freeze dryer, and then just start packing these salads and other things so that when you're backpacking, you're literally eating like you never left home. You're eating foods out of your garden, you're eating foods that you would have just normally prepared for yourself, just freeze-dried. Now, the big challenge with freeze-dried food is that it's missing the water content, right? So you definitely want to drink enough water, and also, while it may retain some good enzymes because the heating process doesn't get above 118, I might also want to take some, enzymes in addition to eating the freeze-dried food, just in case, to help out just a little bit. So I think that's my best suggestions for you there, Ryan. Hope it helps out. Let's see. Next question is from Wives Zeus G. Sorry about the name pronunciation. Can you tell us about when you lived in Hawaii and what it was like living amongst the big bugs and how you deal with the little bugs in your garden? All right. So number one, for the record, I've never technically lived in Hawaii. I visit Hawaii quite often. My mom did live in Hawaii. Actually, she grew up there, and at this point, maybe a quarter of her life she lived in Hawaii. But I've only traveled there. I travel for a week or two at a time, and I've made many trips over to Hawaii. One year, I think I made like 5 trips over. I got a super cheap airline deal. But yeah, so I've only traveled there, so I don't live. I live amongst the bugs. I don't live in the forest when I travel there. I know people and met people that live in the forest in canopies and whatnot with bug screening and netting. And I don't think the bugs have never been a real big issue for me as a traveler. If you were living it any day, maybe it'd get a little annoying with some of the mosquitoes. Some of the areas of Hawaii I've been where there's streams or things running to, they do have a lot of mosquitoes. But the big bugs, they don't really bother me. Hawaii is a unique ecosystem, basically because if it wasn't imported onto the island, it's basically not there. And so, they have actually very few pests, relatively to Southeast Asia, which there's a lot more, and they're trying to keep it that way. I like Hawaii, it's nice. And then how do you deal with the little bugs in your garden? So it depends on what time of year I have little bugs. So right now in this raised bed, I don't think I have any bugs. I did see a caterpillar that I caught a little bit earlier today eating my Apollo Napa cabbage, and I have a few caterpillars on my collard greens. And so basically the best way to control those is to just look for them and hunt them and find them, and then do with them what you will once you find them and pick them off. Whether you want to relocate them somewhere else or you want to put them in your compost, that's up to you guys. So that's the best way. After that, if the outbreak was really severe, then I might spray a organic approved bacterium known as BT. I think it's called Bacteria thuringiensis. And basically the caterpillars eat that, and then they croak. And then last summer season, in the warm season, I did release praying mantises. So the praying mantis are basically carnivorous insects. They will eat each other, which I have a really good picture on Instagram showing that one is eating another one. But they also eat plenty of bugs because they need to eat something. And so they'll basically go around and they'll just be the hunters in my garden eating all the bad bugs. And I did have less caterpillar damage, in my opinion, just because I released the praying mantis. Did I still have some damage from caterpillars? Yes, but it was significantly less than previous years because they'll find them and they'll basically chomp down because that's like a good solid meal for them, all right? And then other than that, I like to do those methods at first. I also like to also have high quality, soil and grow high quality plants. High quality plants, tend to get less disease and attract less pests than poor quality plants, right? So it's like if we eat a healthy diet, you're less likely to get sick. Then if you eat a junk food diet, then you're more likely to get sick. Same thing with our plants. So my goal is to have high quality plants that basically bugs don't like eating. It basically will leave a bad taste in their mouth. I mean, as a simple analogy, that's not exactly correct, but they can't digest the more complex proteins that are formed in higher quality grown food, all right? And then after that, then I might escalate to like spraying something like neem oil and Dr. Bronner's, which I did do maybe a few times last summer. I don't like to do this because spraying even any organic pesticide can negatively impact, beneficial insects as well as the soil life and your microbial life in your garden. So I'd much rather use predatory insects. I have a few good episodes on my Growing Your Greens channel. I'll put a link down to one where I visited an insectary, and those guys have the answers to all your pest problems. So should you have a pest problem, give them a call and they'll be sure to tell you guys a biological way to correct it, which would be my first choice. All right. Next question is from Stephanie Fuller. I've been on a raw diet for the last 4 months, and I've been playing with the idea of detoxing, and during my research I've been hearing to drop the vegetables and go all fruit. What do you think about this? I love salads and have been used to eating a big salad every night. I've had some health issues and want to detox them out. How do you feel about herbal tinctures to detox? I appreciate your time you're taking to answer these questions. I value your opinions and I've been following Growing Your Greens since the 90s. All right, Stephanie. So let's see, all fruit. I know I got people that follow Dr. Robert Morris out there, and everybody has their own different opinions. I value Dr. Morris's opinions and his experiences in life, and that fruit can detox people. So I admit fruit can detox people, but I think like anything in life, things can be taken too far. Hey, if you want to go on a fruit detox diet, I would go on a varied fruit diet. I wouldn't just eat bananas for 30 days and nothing else. I would, try to rotate in fruits and just eat nothing but fruits. And I don't really see a problem with going on a short-term, basically fruit diet. If you want to call it for detox or for whatever, fruit tastes really good. I'd probably tend to do this in the summertime. Of course, there's other ways to detox. You could go on a water fast, which I only would recommend, supervised water fasts, but my personal preference and my opinion is going a juice fast. Juice fast in my opinion, and people are going to disagree with me, and that's all right. Everybody's entitled to their own opinions, but I've seen so many people help by juicing. I sell juicers, I'll admit that too, but watch the video Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead. There's proof in the pudding. If you watch that movie, the documentary, that dude detoxed, got rid of a lot of his health problems from juicing. Yes, he was juicing fruits and vegetables. Was it the fruits that did it and the vegetables were just kind of like, impairing him less? I don't know, man. It's proven that there's different nutrients in every food. This time of year, I'm growing lots of greens and leaves and vegetables in my garden, and fruits are not really growing, and if you really want to eat seasonally, you're pretty much not going to eat a lot of fruits if you live in a temperate climate where it's cold in the winter time. So then you're eating imported fruits, which is a whole nother topic, and then there's pesticides and residues coming along with those. Even if you were buying organic, there may be, things on there that aren't good for us. So, I would encourage you to experiment in the end. You are going to find what's right for your body. Your body may react better to a fruit detox than a juice fast detox. And if you even go on a juice fast detox, you could do a fruit juice detox, which wouldn't be my first choice. I'd rather do a vegetable and fruit detox and not exclude one or the other. I think they're both beneficial and good in their own ways, all right? And then let's see. And then just actually eating raw foods. So if eating raw foods or fruit and vegetable based diet is better than what you were doing, your body will detox because you're giving it a rest. I think another thing very important for detox is to do intermittent fasting. My goal every day, which I usually meet, is I don't eat for a 12-hour period. Will I like to increase that one day? Yes, maybe. But I pretty much don't eat for 12 hours, and it gives my body a chance to do all the house cleaning. And if I'm constantly shoving food in the pie hole, it's not able to do that, all right? And then how do you feel about herbal tinctures to detox? I think herbal tinctures can be helpful, right? Herbal tinctures are only good not because it's tincture in alcohol or in glycerin or anything else, but it's because of the plants, the properties in the plants that are extracted out, broken down, and put into that tincture, right? So I believe in the power of plants, whether you want to eat those plants raw and whole, whether you want to grow those herbs and make your own tinctures, whether you want to, grow herbs and extract out through CO2 extraction or through alcohol-based extraction or through a water extraction, as in teas. I think they can all be helpful. I don't think that, drinking tinctures for the rest of your life is maybe the best thing, but of course for certain health situations, I believe it can be quite useful, right? I don't really do a lot of tinctures, and maybe that's one of the things I'm missing in my diet. I probably should go on a herbal tincture cleanse myself, actually, one of these days, all right? So I hope that helps you out, sharing with you guys my opinions on this topic and what I would do, all right? So Gabriel F., what's your bowel transit time? Is that like personal question? All right, so, or how regular are you eating a raw vegan diet, and how do you notice different foods affect your bowel transit time? Example, avocados, etc. All right, Gabriel, so I mean, I'm gonna be the first to tell you that the reason why my mom doesn't like to eat a lot of raw foods is because it makes her go to the bathroom too much, and those are her exact words, right? I swear, I mean, today it's like, I don't even know what time it is, 2 or 3, I lost track of time. But I seriously have gone number 2 to the bathroom like 3 or 4 times already today. Like nice, big, satisfying, you know, deposits I've been making anyways. So what is my bowel transit time? You know, I sometimes watch. So I mean, if you want to know your bowel transit time, it's pretty easy. Like eat a bunch of shredded beets, right? Shredded beets will tell you, because you will see the pigment change come out. Your body can't absorb all the pigments, and some of them will come out, so then you could know. I mean, my transit time, depending on what I'm eating, how I'm sleeping, if I'm traveling, if I'm not traveling, if I'm home, you know, if I'm drinking more juice or not, could be anywhere from 12 to 24 hours. If I'm eating more fat, it's gonna slow that transit time down. If I'm not, it's gonna be faster. And I will tell you, the fastest transit time I've ever had in my life was 1 hour. Yes. Things could go through your system in just 1 hour. What I had some contaminated prickly pear juice, and I swear I blended it all up, I strained it, I drank it, and then literally within 1 hour that stuff was coming out my butt, like in liquid form. And actually that was one of the worst times I've gotten sick on raw foods, and I think that was because of some kind of E. coli or some kind of bacteria or some kind of contamination on the prickly pear cactus. So I do encourage you guys to wash them and peel them, especially if you are getting them from the wild. I mean, maybe there was some bird poop or something on it, but my transit time was extremely fast. And I guess the good news, even though I was sick for like several days, and basically if you saw me at the Raw Spirit Festival in Sedona at the hotel, and I was just like lying out by the lake, I don't know if any of you guys were there, I was basically recovering from, like, I think a food poisoning, personally. But yeah, so that's that. That's about all I have to say on that. And I think most people on a standard American diet are constipated. You know, they might be taking a poop today, but that poop today wasn't the food they ate yesterday. It could have been food from several days or a week ago. You know, some people might go poop once a week, which I think is really terrible. I mean, I go to the bathroom, number 2, you know, maybe like a half dozen times a day. Because I'm eating throughout the day, you know. Today I've only drank juice. I haven't even eaten anything. I usually don't eat until, like, you know, afternoon, evening, all right? All right, next question is from T. Pata X. Hi, John. Do you have any tips for people who are committed to staying raw but having difficulty doing a good job of it while working full-time in a field unrelated to raw foods? There seem to be 2 problems. Number 1, I've noticed that people who thrive, such as super agers like you and Annette, grow their own food. I think this is ideal, but it can take time. Number 2, staying raw seems to require obsession. What if your job has nothing to do with health? How do people stay motivated? And by the way, it'd be really cool to see an episode where you go to the house of a long-term raw foodist who has an unrelated job and walk us through their routine, show us their kitchen. We see how YouTubers live their lives. They are our examples, but most of us don't work at regular jobs full-time. P.S. I like the episode about raw food taking over your life and how it has been a good thing for you, but what about one for people that can't let it take over their lives? Not entirely. I know you know a lot of different kinds of raw foodists, people we don't see on YouTube. Could you share their tips? Thanks. All right, so I mean, I'll say this. I made a video with Dave Gill. I'll post a link down below. Dave Gill is a successful real estate agent, right? And he doesn't work in his home. He goes to the office, although I think sometimes he works out of his home. And he grows his own food. He's a failure growing outside. He self-admitted, he said to me. And I'm trying to encourage him to get to grow some stuff outside, because some things outside are super easy. But he grows all his sprouts and microgreens indoors, right? And so I'll say this, you know, eating raw or eating more fruits and vegetables, it's a commitment, right? You could meet this commitment or you don't need to meet this. And this is up to you. Like, what do you want to do with your life? What kind of life do you want to have? Do you want to have like a higher level life where you're eating like live foods with enzymes, more phytonutrients, disease-proof yourself? Or do you want to go the way of most people and just buying fast food, right? It's quite common that when I'm not single, so when I have a girlfriend or when I've had girlfriends in the past, based on prior experiences, they'll eat pretty clean. They'll eat raw with me when we're going out, because I do a lot of the food preparation, and I always have lots of food available, whether there's fruits and vegetables in my fridge or things in my garden. And they'll eat high raw. They'll feel great, and then they'll end up moving out, going their own way, and then basically they don't want to take the time to prepare the food, and they'll start eating processed vegan foods, and they feel the difference. And I've seen this happen several times throughout the years. And you guys have that choice too. Do you want to invest the time it takes to do raw foods? And my life is focused around the food I eat because it is so important to me. But this is something I really love and enjoy. I enjoy gardening. I enjoy coming to my backyard and like, look at this. Isn't this beautiful? Like, I got all my nice red lettuces. Like, it's at least 17 times more nutritious than the green lettuces that most of you guys are buying. So if you guys could buy red lettuce at the store. It just looks so beautiful. It rained yesterday. These guys are all perky. I have arugula here, Russian kale growing. Like, it's amazing. And this is what I love. And like, I don't think I'd spend my life any other way. The only thing I would do is I'd maybe travel a little bit more. And maybe I do want to put in like a permaculture food forest for myself and hopefully my soon-to-be family one day. So it's just a time investment, and I think everybody needs to dedicate or allocate an amount of time, for doing this. And there's ways to do it with less time. There's ways to do it with more time. I mean, you could be a raw foodist and just go to the grocery store shopping once a week and try to buy all your produce at once, have it at your house, and every day you're just going to take some produce to you with work to eat it, whether that means pre-making salads like Sunday night and having 5 little bins or whatever that you just take that's all pre-made, so you just grab your salads and go. You could grab fruits, always have fruits available, grab fruits, and then take those to go. And it's not really that hard. You don't have to make all these fancy recipes and dehydrators and all this kind of stuff. Actually, I encourage you guys actually not to use a dehydrator unless it's to preserve your food that you will lose because it is going bad. And even better than dehydration, I recommend freeze drying. So I think that it can be done if you are in a field not related to raw foods. Because look, if you're in a field not related, say you work at Walmart, right? You work at Walmart, and that's totally not related to raw foods. And once you're at Walmart, when you're at any job, usually people go out to eat for lunch or they bring their own lunch. So when you bring your own lunch to work, you're just bringing a healthy raw food meal that you made previously, whether you made it and woke up a little bit earlier that day, or whether you made it, earlier, in the week, and you properly stored it in, like, I would store it in a mason jar with a vacuum sucked out, so you could do all your prep one night. And if you store things in this way, there's gonna be very little nutritive loss, in my opinion. Check the link down below for how I store my juices, but you could also store, I don't know that I make smoothies in advance that way, like a week before, but definitely salads. So like, I'll make soups, one night, and then I'll basically make enough for 3 nights. I'll eat 1 portion the first night, and I'll store the next 2 portions in vacuum. And I mean, I believe there's very little loss of nutrients. Actually, right now I ate an avocado salad last night, so it's 2 avocados, greens from my garden with a little bit of apple cider vinegar, and I put my own homemade kimchi in there, and I put mushroom powder and organic nutritional yeast from Germany. And that was like, just mix that up, and then just ate it. And then even under vacuum, the avocados will brown significantly less, and it would have been better if I had onions cut up in there too. Then if I just had it stored open, right? If I had it stored open or just some saran wrap, those avocados would turn brown, which is a sign of oxidation, which is a sign of lowering the nutrition, all right? So let's see. So you would bring your lunch, and then on the way home, right, from your job, when you're off, right, stop by the grocery store, stop at the health food store on the way home and pick up some food to eat, right? And I mean, most people have to just go shopping anyways, and most people would bring their lunch. Or if you are at work, and you didn't bring your food, then go out to a grocery store to eat, or a health food store to eat, and get fresh produce, make your own salad, instead of going to the restaurant, I mean, That's just small incremental changes that you're doing. That's not like super weird or whacked out. I mean, if I go to Whole Foods, like I do this when I'm traveling. When I'm traveling, I don't have access to my garden. I'll go to Whole Foods and just buy like a tub of greens. I'll buy an avocado and I'll buy some kimchi and just mix those three together, and that's an instant salad. I mean, I also sometimes travel with nori sheets. I'll have nori sheets and some dulse with me, dulse leaf, not the flakes ones that are actually heat processed. And then I'll basically buy sprouts and ripe avocado. So then I take the nori sheets, put some avocado in there, take some dulse in there, and just put sprouts and just fill it up with sprouts, roll it up, and eat it, you know? So, I mean, how long does that take to bring some nori and dulse with you and, you know, avocado and sprouts and make your food right then and there? You know, I always encourage you to make your food right before you're going to eat it. So if you do have a conventional job and you have a break room and people have a coffee maker in there, you know, I would encourage you to bring your vacuum blender or your juicer so that you could juice on your breaks. You know, if you don't make your juice in advance and then make it and then take it with you vacuum stored, you know. So I don't think it could really take that much extra time. Now, you know, getting into gardening, growing your own food, that could take a lot more time or not that much, you know. So it depends what kind of gardening. If you want to convert your whole backyard like I do, you know, I'm gonna say it takes some time, you know. I mean, yesterday or the day before, I didn't spend any time in my garden, but once you set all this up, you know, especially when it's raining, you don't have to do nothing. I just come out and harvest, and hopefully the rain is taking a break so I don't get wet when I'm harvesting my greens to eat. Because nature is doing it. I'm not sitting here babying any plants. I put them in, plant them, set up a good soil system, set up a good irrigation system that comes on a timer, and literally I show up to harvest them. So yes, it does take some time. So use a weekend day to put in a garden, you know, in the upcoming season. But even if you don't want to spend that much time and you don't have any land, right? Grow some sprouts. Sprouts are the easiest thing to grow. Microgreens are a bit harder. They take a little more time commitment. They might take 5 to 10 minutes a day, you know, to mist them and to check on them and whatnot, you know, a couple times a day before you go to work and, you know, when you come home. Link down below to how to grow microgreens. But sprouts are the easiest. You can just sprout some alfalfa sprouts or broccoli in a jar, you know, rinse them before you go to work, takes a second, rinse them when you come home from work, takes another second or two, you know, I don't know, a minute total. And, you know, then you have sprouts, and they're like the most biogenic, life force rich foods in the entire planet. To actually do broccoli sprouts, you know, those are even better. Right? And actually that's something I don't do, although I need to, I'll admit that on the camera. You know, I grow broccoli and have broccoli, but you know, one of the things I want to do is broccoli sprouts, and you know, I do so much already, and broccoli sprouts, doing that would just put me over the edge. So maybe I'll get a partner one day that'll grow broccoli sprouts for me, and I'll love them. So yeah, so it doesn't have to actually take that much extra time to do. I know juicing could take some time, but if you don't want to take the time to juice, I mean, I juice in batches these days. So, you know, I juiced 2 gallons just the other day, and I basically drank probably like 2 quarts that day, and then I put the rest up in the fridge, vacuum sealed, which I will drink for the next 2 to 3 days. And then I'll make another batch juicing session, which might take me an hour and a half to juice all that stuff. And I mean, that's just a commitment that I'm making because I am worth it, and I would hope that you are worth it. And what else are you gonna spend your time doing, like sitting on the couch watching football or TV? I mean, hey, if you guys wanna do that, I'm not gonna talk against that, but I'm gonna spend my time to, you know, eat healthy food so I can have fresh juices available and not think like, oh, I gotta make a juice if I want to drink it, you know, which I used to do. But now with the vacuum saving technology, and I make it in batches, actually it's increased the quality of my life, and I don't think it's decreased the nutrition in the juice that significantly, all right? So let's see. Staying raw seems quite an obsession. What if you have nothing to do with your health? How do you stay motivated? So I guess staying motivated is from the feedback system you will get automatically. Like I said, my ex-girlfriends who have eaten, you know, Trader Joe's vegan stuff, or go to that, you know, Chinese restaurant that you get some, you know, cooked food at, you know, they will notably feel different when they eat this. They'll feel their energy plummet. You know, they'll feel like being a couch potato. They'll feel like not doing as much as if you're eating a high vibrational food. So I can't tell you to, you know, eat healthy because it's gonna, you know, and blow smoke up your butt. I want you guys to experience it, right? You know, the times, which is pretty rare, that I've eaten like baked potatoes after being all raw, like it really tanked my energy, and I really didn't like that. It's like something was being taken away from me, and I didn't like that, and I didn't want that to happen. And of course, everybody could make their own decisions. If you don't mind feeling a bit sluggish, maybe you need to feel sluggish to get over some emotional blocks. I mean, that's a whole nother topic. You know, that's up to you. And so I think motivation is you will feel the best, and you will notice you feel the best, and you will like feeling the best, and you don't want to feel any less. Okay, I think I should make that into some kind of quote. Okay, so yeah, so I'm going to work on finding more people that live a regular life, that stay, you know, all raw or high raw. I don't think it's that hard, but you just do need to work, you know, do some better time management. You know, whether that means for you waking up an hour early every day to juice and prepare your food before you go to work, which I don't think is a super huge commitment. You know, I might spend, you know, 2 hours a day, you know, in my kitchen preparing food, making juices. You know, I mean, my dinner usually every night that I make fresh, unless it's made the day before, usually takes me about an hour from harvesting my food, putting it all together, chopping it, mixing up a dressing and all this kind of stuff, right? And I want to, in the end, I guess, you know, the thing is, you are worth it. You should totally take care of yourself because, you know, doing the right things now will only pay off even more in the future, right? Next question is from Zura Hollow. Will there ever be a vacuum food processor / emulsifier? Ha ha ha. I hope so, right? Some things like a juicer, I don't think there'll ever be a vacuum juicer, but they could do a vacuum food processor. It wouldn't be too hard. I know they have sealed food processors now, so just making, like for the bottom where the spline comes up, so then they would just need to make like a sealable top, and you would basically just put all the ingredients in there and then run it. So that'd be basically an S blade. You wouldn't really be able to like slice or dice or shred or chop or anything in that under vacuum. So I hope it comes out. I've been kind of letting manufacturers know my opinions, and I have told a few companies to actually make a vacuum food processor already, actually. So the next question is from You're the Best 1122. Do you remember what meat tastes like, and do you ever wish to eat it again or ever have dreams about doing so? Or is it just totally not in your mind space whatsoever anymore? I know this is a random question, but I'm curious. Okay, do I remember what meat tastes like? Wow. I don't know that I could remember what meat tastes like. It'd be hard for me to like explain that. I mean usually when I would eat meat, like many people, it's seasoned, right? So really you're tasting the seasonings and not really the meat, because I mean, if you just had to ask me, but I don't really know because I haven't eaten meat in so long. I think it tastes pretty bland unless you get it seasoned. I think one of the last meats I did eat was actually some fresh caught fish that my friend caught, and then we basically wrapped it in foil and then put it next to a fire burning when we were camping. This is a long time ago. And you know, the fish had the oils in there, but it needed some salt. But you know, I don't know, it was nice. You know, I didn't notice any major reactions when I did that many years ago. But I don't really miss it, you know. And I think you miss only what you're used to, right? So I mean, if you just like I miss good jackfruit right now in the wintertime. I got some jackfruit a couple weeks ago and it was like really not good. And I remember the flavor of jackfruit. It tastes like juicy fruit bubble gum. But I don't really miss meat, you know. And I know there's like all these people that are vegan and like they're leaving veganism or leaving raw veganism. They start to eat meat again because they've just had various health challenges or situations. And you know, my personal opinion on these people like leaving a vegan diet or plant-based diet is, you know, here's the thing. If you're doing something and it's not working, it means what exactly you're doing is not working, right? And so then you need to change it up. You know, there's very restrictive raw food diets. There's very restrictive plant-based diets. You know, there's very restrictive any kind of diets. You know, so I think really eating a variety of things and also learning and finding out what nutrients you need to get, you know, what foods you're allergic to. You know, it's a big complex question, and you can't say, this is the problem, you know. Eat all fruit, that's gonna fix you. Well, too much fruit could kind of mess you up, in my opinion, you know. I mean, you can only handle so much fructose a day, and you know, there's so many different beneficial nutrients in vegetables, you know. So I think being balanced in the end is very important, whatever that may mean to you. To me, that means being balanced and eating as many fruits and vegetables as I can. And even if you're gonna eat meat, you know, based on scientific studies, if you eat no more than 10% of your calories from meat, you know, there's no major health problems that could arise as long as the other 90% is healthy, plant-based, high nutrient foods. That being said, I just don't really see a need for eating meat myself, and I will probably never ever need it. And the other thing is I monitor my blood levels and whatnot, and if I find out that I needed something, because I am deficient in something, then I would try to find the plant source method to get it. I mean, a real common food that many people don't eat these days is, or nutrients they're getting are trace minerals, right? So I eat seaweed for my trace minerals. Animals are bioaccumulators. They'll bioaccumulate toxins in the atmosphere. They'll bioaccumulate toxins in their food, which many of them may be eating GMO corn and soy and grown on sewage sludge. They'll basically concentrate bad minerals, heavy metals. They'll also concentrate, minerals, right? And then when we eat those, we get those minerals secondhand. So my goal is to get those minerals firsthand, right? And in addition, when you're eating meat, you're getting certain things. You're getting protein, you're getting all these things, you're getting some fat, but what you're not getting you're not getting the phytonutrients and the phytochemicals. These are the anti-aging properties. So like I would never recommend anybody go on an entire meat diet. Everybody should always eat high levels of phytonutrient-rich plants. If you want to include some meat in there because you feel you need it or whatever reason, I don't have a problem with that. But what I do have a problem with is that people buying their meat from the grocery store or from the farmer's market, even if it's grass-fed local, right? The problem I have is people are disconnected with the food they're eating. Whether that's your vegetables, like most of you guys buy vegetables at the store, or whether that's the animal products. It's much easier to pick a leaf off my lettuce plant. I'm not hearing it scream. And eating it, wow, that's quite good. Than to raise an animal from a baby and have it literally as your pet. Like imagine killing your dog to eat it. It's your pet, you love it, and then killing it. And people miss that experience, and they miss the connection with other creatures, whether they're plants or animals on the planet. And I really believe that if people want to eat meat, even up to 10%, they should raise their own animals and kill them, or they just really shouldn't be eating them, in my opinion, because they're missing the process. And they're not seeing the whole process of, I would never kill my dog. I would never want to kill a chicken. I would never kill anything to eat if I had other alternatives, such as all my amazing fruits and vegetables and plants that I have growing around me and in my fridges. All right. So hope that answers your question. Next question is from Pebbles for Red Jackson. Hello, John. Do you use manuka honey? Do you drink organic loose leaf teas? All right. So do I use manuka honey? Yes, I have some manuka honey inside. The question is, how often do I use it? So I think manuka honey, and we could get in the whole honey debate, because I know there'll be those hardcore vegans. John, man, you own honey, you're not vegan. Fine, don't call me vegan if you don't want to. I'm plant-based and I grow more of my own food than you and harm less bugs in my garden than you do buying conventional produce, right, where they're spraying bugs and animals are being killed. In addition, I rarely eat any almonds because they're using enslaved bees to grow the almonds that are you're drinking your almond milk. So I don't want to get into argument about this. There's more compassionate ways to keep bees in harmony with nature. I'll post a couple links down below to videos I've done about this topic. I would want and encourage you guys to educate yourselves about this. Things in life are not always right or wrong or good and bad. That being said, I will say that most honeys in the stores are atrocious. They could be doctored, they could be really corn syrup, and in most cases, the honeys that are being sold in the stores are coming from bees that have been enslaved, which I do not agree with, all right? And so, being vegan is being, avoiding animal products as much as possible and practicable, and each one of us is going to have their own definitions to what that is. And manuka honey is only good not because it's from the bees, not because it's honey, but only good because of the tree that it comes from, the manuka tree, or I think it's like the tea tree, and there's properties in there like from plants that basically the bees get when they collect the pollen that then are concentrated in the honey. So you could use some tree tea oil instead. It has been shown, there's been a lot of studies on manuka honey with healing wounds faster and all this kind of stuff. So I like to use it not as in something I eat every day, but on a very rare occasion that I might have a sore throat. I'd rather eat some manuka honey, for some of those antibiotic properties that the manuka honey has. If I get cut, I'm not going to put manuka honey on there because I'm going to use colloidal silver gel, which is not from an animal product. So am I bad because I do this once in a rare while and I own some manuka honey, or I like to make manuka honey flax carob, dessert, I don't know, once every few months? That's up to you. I'm just telling you guys what I do. I think there is some benefit. I am concerned really about how the bees are being treated and their honey is being stolen, and it shouldn't be stolen in any large amounts. And I would encourage you guys, for the most part, to avoid honey. If you guys want to eat honey, the best way to do it is to raise your own bees. Have your own bees, and like a farm I visited, right? Don't steal all their honey and then feed them sugar water, which is, I think, one of the worst practices that bee farmers do. So they could steal their honey for money, and then basically give them sugar water, which is not their natural food. They should be eating the honey. And when the farmers are taking all the honey, that leaves the bees with no food, or with sugar water, which is not really nutritious. And then it's part of the reason for the colony collapse, in my opinion. I mean, there's other reasons, of course. But have your own bees, and then basically, if they make a lot of honey, then take out one frame, put it in a freezer, store it through the winter for them. And if they have enough honey in their hive to live throughout the winter and they don't need the extra honey, then yes, eat the extra honey. But if they're starving because they don't have enough honey, then give it back to them, right? I think this is a much more sustainable approach, and the approach that every bee farmer should do. I would have a lot less issues with bee farmers if they did that, but unfortunately most of them are just money grabbers, Much like any product or commodity, whether that's you're growing animals for slaughter, for profit, whether you're making honey for profit, or even the vegetables, harvesting vegetables for profit, grow them fast, grow them big, and you don't care about all the soil microbes and like treating the soil or the earth and respecting the earth properly. So I think that's the bigger picture myself. So that was a little bit lengthy, but hope that explains better my situation and my beliefs. Do you drink organic loose leaf tea? So I rarely drink tea. If I'm traveling and I have nothing to drink, then I have a few packs of organic teas in my backpack that I will make. I don't like to use super hot water because I don't like to actually heat any foods up myself. If I'm traveling and I'm like super cheap and I don't want to buy bottled water, I'll go to Starbucks and ask them for like a glass of hot water, which then I will let cool down because their hot water is filtered. And then I'll actually add a bag of tea in there, so at least I can get additional nutrients than just the water. Tea has nutrition in it. It can be quite good, but the problem with teas is that when you're drinking the teas, you're basically getting a water extract of the nutrients. Instead, I like to actually add matcha tea powder or whole herbs to my green smoothies, blend them up, or actually harvest herbs, chop them up into salads, put them in my salads, or harvest herbs and put them through my juicer. So I'm getting a much higher extract of the nutrients in the herbs and whatnot. And actually I even grow my own tea plants. 2 of them died, but I still have several tea plants, and actually they're looking quite good this time of year. So I'll just basically go to the tea plants and harvest the Camellia sinensis leaves and just eat it and chew on it and get some of the benefits that way, which I think is the best, always good, better, best. And I'd rather drink a fresh juice than a fresh tea, but I'd rather have a fresh tea, or tea than like a Coke or something like that, right? So do the best you guys can, all right? Next question is from Zinnia K. Vegan food products can help boost memory and help students to keep full for a long period of time. I'm studying to be a nurse and my days are pretty long and I consume a lot of carbs and therefore get hungry constantly, struggling to get rid of carbs and find alternatives that can be just as fulfilling. I love the work you do. Thanks. All right, Zinnia, so carbs are not carbs, like white pasta is carbs, as is brown rice, as is like fruit, so I want you guys to eat the minimal processed carbs as possible, and at the same time I want you guys to eat carbs with benefits. What are carbs with benefits? Those are the ones that are gonna have sex with you later in the evening. Just kidding. All right. No, so carbs with benefits are like, instead of just getting white russet potatoes, get potatoes that are purple in color, that have the purple skin. Those are carbs with benefits. They are high nutrient, besides just the carbs, which, carbs are what fuels me. In addition, most of my diet is carbohydrates, but I get whole food sources of carbs. I don't eat purple potatoes myself. But for example, if you are eating potatoes, get the purple ones because they have purple anthocyanins, which are, more health building, and these are more anti-inflammatory, and in my opinion, they'll also help you increase your memory versus the, white starch carbs that don't have these properties in. I know they've done studies with, anthocyanins as to, weight loss, as to anti, blood sugar, and as to anti circulatory issues. And I like to think that these foods are protective of all areas of our body besides these systems, like our brain, which is our memory. And so we want to eat protective foods that will enhance our brain, which should in turn enhance your memory. And so aside from that, also I'd recommend something like Gotu Kola. Grow Gotu Kola if you can. It's an amazing herb. I mean, that is shown in science to be good with memory, and I'm sure there's like many other things. That's the only ones I would know, but I think cleaning up your diet, increasing the antioxidant content would be super important. Not all carbohydrates are created equal. The other thing I'd say besides carbohydrates, I don't know if you're on a low fat, high carb diet, which is, a lot of people advocate. I don't necessarily recommend a super low fat, under 10% of your calories from fat. I like to keep it around 20%, maybe 25, like max. I don't like to go above that too much. Include some extra fats, so one of the things I did, I wasn't in college anymore, but when I wanted to have more energy and like not have to like eat every, few hours, I would basically make one of my smoothies. I don't know that I'd make this on a daily basis because I did see my cholesterol raise because of this smoothie, in my opinion. So it's basically young coconut water, young coconut meat, greens, maybe some bananas. And when I'd have the coconut meat in there versus without it, then that would keep me fuller longer and I wouldn't have to eat as soon. I don't know that I recommend doing that on a daily basis, but I think it can be beneficial to do sometimes, or increase the amount of fats, whether you want to eat a little bit more avocados or a little bit more nuts and seeds. But don't try to get too high, because if you're eating too much fats, then you're basically eating less of the carbohydrates. So it's kind of like a balance that you need to find out personally what works for you. I tend to do maybe a handful of nuts a day, maybe two. Might do 1 or 2 avocados a day. Might do some coconut milk or young coconut meat sometimes. And I generally keep my fats pretty low, trying to increase the vegetable consumption as well as my leafy green consumption overall, and just eat enough fruits to fill in otherwise. All right. Next question is from Zinnia K. Also, can you please discuss about what type of water system do you use, a cheap alternative to water filtering at home? I heard about boiling, but it doesn't get rid of heavy metals, and I can't afford expensive water systems. Pretty bad situation. All right, Zinnia. So, what I use at home is I have a whole house water filter, right? This has 3 stages. It has a sediment filter. It's actually a big blue 20-inch that I installed in addition. And then it has also the carbon filtration and KDF. This takes out the chlorine and a lot of the major toxins. That water is good enough for me to use to wash my vegetables and to shower in, although I do have an additional shower filter just to make sure to take out of the extra chlorine. It's a KDF filter. And then in addition to that, I have a reverse osmosis system from Costco, which is the one I recommend, just because it's from Costco and you could return it. It has a good warranty, and it's a decent system for a good price, a system that you could trust, in my opinion. And that's like $159. That you have to install underneath your sink. So if you're renting a place, that might be a little bit difficult to do. That being said, I use that water when I'm preparing my food that I will be eating. So like if I'm soaking my seaweed, I'll use that reverse osmosis water to soak my seaweed. I'll then drain the seaweed out. I'll use the soak water from the seaweed with the RO water to pour on some of my special plants to feed them. I do not generally drink the water out of my reverse osmosis system. It's actually a rare day that I do that, because I'd rather drink, something like coconut water or even like fresh juices before I drank the water, even that has been reverse osmosis here. That's just my personal belief. I want to try to get as much fluids as I can from foods. Lately I have a lot of cucumbers, so I've been just basically juicing a lot of cucumbers, drinking straight cucumber juice or cucumber with pineapple and ginger. And the last one I drank this morning was with beets as well. That's my first choice. But if you guys gotta get good water on a cheap way, I think the best way to do that is probably invest in it in a distiller. Water distillers are pretty inexpensive. They're under $100 these days. Just go to Amazon and find one with a lot of good reviews. And basically distill your water. The distiller maybe costs you $80 to $100. And it does 1 gallon at a time. And make sure you have a carbon filter after it goes through the distiller. The distiller will remove most heavy metals and all these things, but it will not remove some volatile organic compounds that are basically created in the steam process. This is a much easier system if you're renting or whatnot. That being said, even if you do have that water, I would encourage you to try to eat as many fruits and vegetables as you guys can, water-rich foods, so you can get your water from a better source than just distilled water, in my opinion. Or like I do, just get some coconut water. So hope that answers your question. Next question is from Melvina628. This is a long one. Hi, John. Thank you for all your master classes in raw veganism. I'm 6-month raw vegan and loving it. I love macadamia nuts too. I'd love to get them raw and unshelled like in your fun airport video. Currently, I'm emailing to ask if I can get unshelled macadamia nuts from Dr. Palco's Kona Coffee. Is it best to eat macadamia nuts completely raw? Do you think they have any toxicities like raw cashews per your other video? More importantly, where did you get that great nutcracker in your fun airport video? I'd like to get one. I read that macadamia nut shells are hard. They break ordinary household nutcrackers. 4, how can I grow a garden indoors? There's plenty of sunshine, but with a 10-foot height limit. All right, so many questions. All right. So the first question is Dr. Palco's, they sell the Mac nuts. I forget if their website or their other website, I think it's mac-nuts.com or macadamian-nuts.com, I forget, is cheaper. My last batch I just got from them the other day. It's like, I think I paid like $115 for 10 pounds delivered. That's the best price for shelled nuts. I do recommend their shelled nuts. They are exceedingly fresh. If you guys are used to buying the ones at Whole Foods in the bulk section, those ones are exceedingly unfresh and they suck ass. I can taste the difference. And so Dr. Palco's, I don't believe there's a real big, I don't think there's a reason really to get them shelled because their nuts are so fresh, they taste fine with being out of a shell. That being said, I did get one batch from Dr. Palco's one time that were bad. They were not good. I contacted them and they replaced them, right? So, but that being said, yeah, in-shell nuts are always better in general, but they can be hard to find. And the problem with buying in-shell nuts, when you're buying Mac nuts, if you don't know where you're getting them from, they can be really, really, really old. You could be buying nuts from like 3 years ago, right? Dr. Palco's, you know, they sell you guys fresh nuts and, you know, that have already been shelled, so you don't have to deal with it. When I get my shelled nuts, I don't get them from them. The only place I get shelled nuts is if I go to the farm in Maui that has nuts in the shell, I'll go there. Many cases, I'll pick them off the ground. I have a video on that. If I remember, I'll post it down below. Or I'll go, lately, I was in San Diego at the Vista Farmers Markets, and I got like in-shell nuts from the farmer that were just harvested, right? And I talked to him, and they were so fresh inside, they're still like moist, which they're really not good to eat because they taste like a water chestnut. They haven't developed the fat hasn't intensified because the water got dehydrated out. And so I put some of those in the freeze dryer, and I freeze dried the Mac nuts, and that's not probably the best use of the freeze dryer because I just wanted to experiment, but those nuts were insane. They're insanely sweet, soft, and chewy, unlike dehydrated nuts that get really hard, all right? So, yeah, so that's what I'm gonna say. Is it best to eat macadamia nuts completely raw? So I would say yes. You know, I don't, you know, in general, when you start roasting nuts, it starts to create toxins, and I don't know why you would really want to heat process them. I know there's some nuts that aren't really nuts, but they're more of legumes that do need to be heat processed to break down some of the toxins, such as the baru nuts that I eat. Yeah, so I'd say completely raw, yes, maybe better. Might be soaked and sprouted and then eaten, you know, so that'd be sprouted instead of raw. That might be better. Do they have any toxicities like raw cashews? All right, so I'm not aware of any toxicities in the Mac nuts as with the raw cashews, you know, and here's the thing, right? Nature in its vast intelligence has basically protected seeds, or plants have protected their seeds from predators, right? And they could do this in many different ways. A cashew nut, the nut is exposed on the top of the fruit, right? And it is easily accessible by any animals by just chomping it and eating it, which if it didn't contain toxins, animals would do that and there'd be the nuts would not produce other nut trees and produce more cashews. You know, meanwhile, macadamia nut, they came up with a different strategy. They didn't make the nut super toxic. They just put a hard ass shell around it that most creatures could never get into without tools. So if you have 2 rocks, yes, we can smash them, but not many creatures are going to use 2 rocks to get into them. Of course, the exception is the parrot that has, I don't even know how many pounds of crushing power in its beak. Parrots could get in there and actually eat Mac nuts, but there's very other few creatures that can smash a nut to get into it, other than some bugs that will, you know, over time burrow into it and get in there. And so in my belief, there's less toxins in Mac nuts because of the hard shell, all right? But I would have to research that more because I actually haven't looked that one up. But I can tell you this, they also digest a lot better for me than cashews ever will or did or have, all right? Where did you get that great nutcracker in your fun airport video? So I believe that was like a little plastic nutcracker. It was like blue and it had basically like a screw in it. It was from Australia. You could just probably Google it online, like Australian plastic nutcracker should come up. I like those, and I did resell those for a while. They're really inexpensive, like I don't know, like under 20 bucks, you know, so I did like those a lot, but they're plastic. What I find that works, you know, as good or even better for less expensive is go down to your local Home Depot, or if you're super cheap like me, go to Harbor Freight and make sure you find a 20% off coupon, and go down and just basically get a PVC pipe cutter. PVC pipe cutter will easily crack open macadamia nuts. They're maybe like $5 to $10, a lot less than that cracker that from Australia, and it'll be faster to use, all right? So there's that tip. And how can I grow a garden indoors? You know, that's a whole nother topic. So I would recommend, you know, gardening indoors is not the best use of growing indoors. Maybe like if it's in a greenhouse, because you can get some natural sun, but indoors when you got windows, the plants for the most part are not going to get enough sun to, you know, grow any kind of fruits. But you could get some, you know, lettuces and, you know, herbs to grow in a windowsill, you know, fairly well. That being said, I would say try to grow outside if you're able, and if you're not able to grow full real vegetables outside, grow sprouts and microgreens indoors. I have a really good episode on growing microgreens that I will put in the description below, as well as an episode on sprouts, all right? All right, next question is from Eric Estrada. Hey, wait, is this the Eric Estrada that was in like chips? I don't know. Anyways, as far as fruit goes, what's more medicinal, cherimoya or guabanana or soursop? Because they're extremely related to each other, and I'm debating what to plant now. They have equal value because one is yummier, but the other is bigger. The answer to this question will be the tiebreaker. Thanks. So Eric, so I haven't seen too much, you know, like research on the power of the cherimoya if they're medicinal, but I definitely know that the guabanana or soursop is medicinal. You know, the fruit, yes, a little bit, but the leaves of the plant even more so, right? And so if the criteria is just on specifically medicinal benefits and you love soursops, plant the soursop by far. That being said, I don't know where you live, right? So soursops can not grow in as many places as cherimoyas can. You know, for example, cherimoyas could grow in Santa Barbara, and soursops needs it a little bit more tropical. So like my friends have soursops in like, you know, South Florida, West Palm Beach, they grow great, you know, but in other areas they may not do so well. I haven't seen like any large, you know, soursop growers in California, although with the warming weather, I would encourage you to try it. So if you do live in a place that may or may not grow soursops, plant one of each, right? And put them do the technique, 2 holes, 1 tree, right? Or 1 hole, 2 trees. So plant a hole, one side put the soursop, one side put the cherimoya, and keep them pruned back so that this side is all soursop, this side is all cherimoya. It's just gonna look cool, and they're gonna be right next to each other. And you could have both in the same spot, all right? So hope that helps you out. Oh, and then if it was just for taste only, me personally, I really dislike soursop. I'm sorry. I don't. I would grow cherimoya. All right, that's just me. All right. All right, so last question today is from Tiffany Nigen. Can you use a Hurom HAA ice cream strainer in a Omega VSJ? No. So the Hurom HAA is their alpha series of juicers, so it doesn't have the same exact screen as the Omega VSJ, so that will not work. Sorry. But you can make you know, ice streams in the VSJ. I'll post a link down below. If I remember, just do a Google or a YouTube search for VSJ sorbet, and you'll see how I do that with the screen. It's not optimal, but it works. All right, so that's it for today's episode. If you guys enjoyed this episode today, hey, please be sure to give me a thumbs up. Also be sure to share this video with somebody else you might think it can help. Also be sure to click that subscribe button right down below, so you get notified of my new and upcoming episodes. I'm coming out every 5 to 7 days. You never know where I'll show up or will be learning on my YouTube channel. Also make sure you click the little bell so you get notified of my new episodes as they come out. Also be sure to check my past episodes. Oh my God, my past episodes are a wealth of knowledge, or 500 episodes on this channel at this time, teaching you guys the best of what I know about eating more fresh fruits and fresh vegetables in your diet and eating raw foods. So with that, my name is John Kohler with okraw.com. We'll see you next time. And until then, remember, keep eating your fresh fruits and vegetables. They're always the best.